So let's get started with the high poly part of the modeling process. So what is high poly, you ask, right? High poly is nothing but, in 3D modeling, high poly refers to a model that has a high level of polygonal detail or a large number of polygons. Polygons are the basic building blocks of the 3D models, consisting of vertices, edges and faces that define the shape and surface of the object. High-poly models are typically created for rendering purposes. Okay, where intricate details and smooth surfaces are important, exactly what we did for the Pokemon ball, if you remember, such as in visual effects, cinematic animations, or high quality still images. The models can have millions or billions of polygons, allowing for precise and realistic representations of complex forms, but here we are going to use it for the sake of baking details on the low poly model. Okay, so let's open the outliner. Everything you model, everything you make, each and everything inside the viewport will be displayed here. Okay, so here there is one, let's name this as bounding box, and let's put this in a group. Let's hold this, let's select this and this, and let's press Ctrl G, and let's name this group as block. Okay, now what we are going to do is duplicate this group, and we will select this block group and press H to hide. Okay, if you want to unhide it, you can simply select the hidden group and press on H again. It will come, it will unhide. Okay, for now let's hide it, and let's uh, rename this block one as high poly. Okay, so let's open up this group. We have what, this cap over here. So let's bring in our reference, and let's see what the cap looks like. The cap has two steps, and let's create those two steps. Okay, so let's press F to zoom in, and let's place it exactly on the top of the cylinder. Let's split this edge. Let's bring this edge a little on top. Okay, and let's delete this faces, and let's loop select this, and let's create a little offset, or you can buy thickness, and let's extrude it again. Okay, feel like this much is enough. Let's delete this part, and let's select the whole loop, press on shift and right mouse button, and come here to fill hole to fill this. Okay, now we need we need to put edges over here. Okay, so what we are going to do is go on face selection mode, click the face, and we are going to click on poke faces. Okay, here is the poke face. Now we have, so for the, we are going to decrease the size a little bit. We are going to bring this down a little bit, so it helps us in the baking. So for the sake of baking, there shouldn't be any perfect 90-degree angles. Okay, forget about this top. This we will be able to achieve perfect baking, but for areas such as this, there shouldn't be any perfect 90-degree angles. So okay, so now that we have created this shape, let's select this, this and this, and let's bevel this. Let's turn off chamfer over here, and increase the chamfer value, sorry, fraction value over here. Looks good. I think there are two edges. Let's delete one edge over here. and we'll have to add one more edge over here, and let's select all the faces here, and let's create one more offset for the sake of I'll show you what happens if you don't have one. Okay, so let's press 3. 3 means to see the subdivision preview. Okay, what happens, this edge, let me select this edge and show you what is the diff. This edge travels too much towards the center of the cap. Okay, we don't want that happening, so that is why what we are going to do, this will create a lot of distortion. So I'll create one duplicate and show you what the difference is going to be. So let's create an offset here. Let's press 3 here, and let's press 3 here. The edge sticks to its place almost where it was created. It's on the same spot, but here the edge has traveled a lot, so we don't want that to happen. And even the purpose for this edge also is the same. Okay, let's delete. I'll show you what happens. See, it loses its shapes. Now here it is retaining a little bit of shape. Okay, and it prevents this edge to travel further down, but here the edge retains its position. Okay, so I don't think so. So let's delete the bottom faces which we don't need, and let's bring it up a little bit. Let's turn off the wireframe on shaded over here. Looks very neat. So we can add extra details over here in the texturing. For time being, we don't have to bother with anything else, and we are going to do the same thing over here. We are going to, let's detach this face, or we'll extract it. Let's extract it, because realistically this will be separate and this will be separate. So let's do the same thing what we did for the cap. Let's create one. Okay, if you are seeing something like this, just select the faces, the black faces, and delete them, and make sure you are selecting the faces which you need to. And now let's select these. Let's select them by the delete these two, and let's bridge this. Okay, now let's extrude and rescale it into inwards. Let's extrude it again, and now while the edge is being selected, you can click on shift, right mouse button, merge and collapse edges, and merge edges to center. Okay, all the edges will be merged. Now we'll have to extrude this part a little bit. Before that, okay, let's extrude this first, very little, like this, and we'll decrease the size of the corner edge by very little, like this. You'll be able to tell the difference in the top view. The difference is very little. Same reason, there shouldn't be any 90-degree angles. Okay, that is the only reason. And now let's bevel this edge. while chamfer being turned off and fraction being around 0.6. let's see how. Okay, we are getting here desired result, and for the sake of better texture baking, let's create some extra detail over here. Let's add some details like this. Let's bevel these chamfer turned off, and let's see, we don't need this edge, we don't need this ends, we're going to delete it. Let's go to object mode, press 3. How it's looking good, and we can move the cap towards here. Okay, let's move on. The top is done. Now let's model the bottom part, I mean the barrel itself. Okay, let's delete the history. Now you will be seeing some unwanted groups being created. We'll clean that up later, but for time being we'll focus only on the high poly of the barrel. So let's select these edges. Let's send this back for some while, and let's chamfer it, and let's turn off the chamfer. Okay, looks good. Let's do the same to this too. Control B, turn off chamfer, increase the fraction. Now the same thing, we need to add one more edge loop here, one more edge loop here. I think we'll need to place 3 here, one more over here. And now let's bevel these edges over here with the chamfer turned off. Increase the fraction value, and we need to do the same thing over here what we did for the top part. Let's delete this. Let's select the entire edge loop, extrude, and press R to rescale, and we'll scale this inwards. We'll extrude again, press R, we'll extrude this inwards a little bit again. Let's do the same thing. Now let's merge the entire edge loop. Okay, now let's see how this looks. Before that, let's delete history and let's save this. Control Shift S to save as. Go to assets folder and let's save it as barrel underscore HP for HighPoly 01. Always save in iteration so you can go back if you mess up something. Okay, so we need to do the same thing what we did to the bottom part. We'll have to do the same thing over here. Let's bevel this, turn off chamfer, decrease the fraction value. Let's do the same for this. Bevel, turn off chamfer, bevel fraction, and same thing over here. Looks good. Okay, looks good here. So let's see how this looks. Now there is some gap between the cap and the barrel, top part of the barrel. So what we'll have to do is let's see where the pivot point is. Let's bring it to the center of the cap and close the gap over here. So let's rescale it slowly so it covers the gap. Okay, now the modeling of the barrel is done, let's apply blend material to it and see if there are any shading issues over here. I noticed one shading issue over here. To solve that, what we have to do is select this edge and this edge and hold shift, right click and give an edit edge flow over here. It will give a flow to the selected edges, curvature. It gives some curvature. It calculates from this edge to this edge and give necessary curvature to the selected edge. Okay, that's what it does. Let's press 3 again. Now there is no shading issue, now there is no gap, and let's see if there is any shading issue over here. The blend material helps us see if there is any shading issue, if there is any pinching, something like this happening. I'll show you. Something like this happens, you'll be able to see with the reflections. Okay, this looks like a dent. So let's create a few dents. To create a few dents, you have to edit vertices, and all you have to do is select the vertex, and you cannot push it on the world orientation. It will look really bad. Okay, to push it in its own axis, what you have to do is select the edge, hold control and then hold right mouse button, hold control shift and right mouse button, hover over this component and let go of your mouse. You'll see your pivot point changing orientation. The orientation is the vertex direction. So if you push it inwards now a little bit, now you see this having a little dent kind of effect. Okay, so you can create dents randomly wherever you want, like this. Let's create one dent over here. Let's create one huge dent over here. Okay, don't go too crazy. So now that we have almost finished the high poly part of the barrel, let's move on to the next chapter, and let's see what is next. So the next part is creating low poly from high poly model. Okay, so I'll see you in the chapter.